And welcome back in, everybody, to another edition here of the Postgame Podcast on the Auburn Undercover podcast. My name is Nathan King. Our illustrious intern, Patrick Bingham, has joined me late this evening. What is it? It's almost 11 p.m. Patrick, another top 5 win for the Auburn basketball team. And we are going to be up even later tomorrow night. An incredible game out in Maui to get things started for the Tigers in the Maui Invitational. We knew this was going to be a super high-level event. But you tweeted that statistic, I believe ESPN talked about during the game. Auburn now has 2 top 5 wins in the regular season for the first time ever in the history of their program. It's November. Auburn beats Iowa State 83-81. Patrick, there's like 4 or 5 different, crucial things that happened in this game. I guess we'll just start with the fact that Auburn came back from 18 down in this one. They rallied right out of the gates in the second half, and boy, we've seen that so many times from Bruce Pearl's teams coming out of halftime. And boy, if you counted this Auburn team out in the first half, you were making a mistake. Obviously, they've proven they can do that now.
Yeah, just one more stat on, I guess, the significance. There's an ESPN stats info page that tweeted out Auburn's the 4th team in AP poll history since the poll started to start 5-0 and already have 2 top 5 wins. The last team to do it was Kansas, 1980-1990, for what that's worth. But yeah, the first half was about as bad as it could have gone for Auburn. Iowa State had runs of a 7-0 run, a 10-0 run, a 6-0 run. Auburn finally gets a 7-0 run of their own. Looks like, they might go into the half with some momentum. Iowa State pretty much slams the door shut with a 6-0 run to end it. They ended up shooting, let's see. They had a great shooting percentage in the first half. And, for Auburn to come out a 15-2 run of their own, Chad Baker, who was injured in the first half, only played 7 minutes, was really the story the entire second half. You could even tell it wasn't like, he was hurt, he rested, he got better. He was clearly still playing through injury, and it just didn't matter. Continued to play great, had a great quote in the postgame press conference.
Yeah, his quote afterwards was, quote, "My mama raised a warrior. If I'm not dead, I'm going out there." Yeah, he was kind of the fire starter there when Auburn got rolling to open up the second half. Had a 3-pointer that forced Iowa State into a timeout. He had another 3-pointer that he hit through contact for the opportunity for a 4-point play. Yeah, it was scary there at the in the first half. You just, when it comes to knees, you just never really want to see somebody grabbing that in pain. I think it was pretty clear after a while that he made contact with somebody, and that's why he was in so much pain. But yeah, like you said, he came out of the game, checked back in, came back out in the second half, actually was in more pain on the sideline, then went back in once again. Johni Broome did what Johni Broome always does. He got a double-double in this game, burying the lead a little bit, hits a tip-in with 1.2 seconds left. Denver Jones drove to the basket. Johni Broome was there to clean it up. He finishes with a casual 21 points and 10 rebounds in this game. He actually notched the double-double with the tip-in there. But, I thought Broome was effective throughout the game. But this was the story of playing defense in the second half and other guys making shots. Bruce Pearl talked about that post game, having the depth to be able to do that. But Patrick, this is, you get in a scenario where you need a last shot against the top 5 team, and it helps a little bit. I think it helps a tiny bit to have a returning All-American at center.
Of course, and that's 20 points with the tip-in. That's 20 points against Houston, and then 20 points again against Iowa State. So it's like when the lights shine brightest, Broome has been pretty much fantastic this season. But yeah, it wasn't really one half or another. He was just the old reliable, which he's kind of been for Auburn all season long. And he had 2 big 3-point shots that came at, it felt like the perfect time in both scenarios. Ended up going 2 for 5 from deep, but continues to kind of cement himself in that one of the best players in college basketball role in an early start to the season.
Yeah, you talked about, you were talking about during the game, the runs Auburn was going on and the runs Iowa State was going on, but they kept threatening, never got there though, kept pushing. It was either within one possession or it was a tie game. Never really able to get there. But you mentioned Johni Broome hitting those key 3-pointers. His 3-pointer in the second half tied the game at 73 all. Denver Jones then came down. It was able to give Auburn the lead. Yeah, looking at looking at what they've done here in the early season, it's pretty spectacular already to have a couple wins against what we knew was going to be a grueling non-conference schedule. Auburn certainly had the best win in college basketball already in beating Houston. They might have the two best wins in college basketball right now, which is kind of crazy. We won't get into we don't even know who they're going to play tomorrow. We do know it's going to be 10 p.m. Central Time on ESPN. Another late night. It will be North Carolina or Dayton, the winner of that game. Obviously, so UNC goes into that one as a bit of a favorite. But man, just an incredible performance for this team, outscoring Iowa State 50-32 in the second half. They made 5 of their first 6 shots. 9 of 12 from the foul line in the second half. 5 of 13 from 3. I mean, it's just kind of what I think we've sort of seen. We've seen it's interesting, Patrick. Bruce Pearl always uses the word like exposed. He wants to know his flaws. Here in the early season, Auburn is undefeated. Auburn has 2 top 5 wins, but I feel like we've seen some of the team's flaws. They've just been so deep and good that they come back and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and I mean, you saw that in the first half, which was so interesting because going into the game, it was like, oh, Auburn's been tested. Auburn's seen a big defense like Houston. Iowa State hasn't. They had 3 wins against teams that aren't really good, very low in KenPom, or low as in big numbers in KenPom. And it was the other way around. And I was like, oh, this is tough. But Iowa State, they were shooting out of their minds in the first half. They really came back down to the averages. And that's the thing. Even in some of the early and a lot of the games Auburn's played this season that haven't been competitive down the stretch, there's been little things that have kind of tinked at them and exposed them. I thought what was really interesting tonight was how Auburn utilized its rotation and was really forced to use several players down into the bench with the foul trouble. 3 different Tigers got to 4 fouls. Chaney Johnson pretty early on, Dylan Cardwell, and then Chad Baker a little bit later towards the end. Miles Kelly had 3, Denver had 3. So a bunch of foul trouble. And so they kind of, I think partly because Iowa State's tall and is very defensive, they leaned on that Broome at the 4, Cardwell at the 5, that deeper lineup. But I think a lot of it was also, it was forced because Chaney was in foul trouble. And so you kind of had to use pieces how you could. I will say, I mean, you get the win however you can take it, all that. But Johni Broome ended up having 36 minutes. That's a career high for him.
Yeah.
I mean, Bruce basically said in the postgame, he was like, he played the whole game. He interjected one of his comments. And I think in a tournament style where it's 3 games in 3 days, how does that, I mean, he was literally cramping at the end of the game.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Gatorade. How does that translate down the stretch? Of course, it's huge to learn these things now when you get to an SEC tournament or to an NCAA tournament, which is a little bit more spaced out.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's something to watch going into. Luckily, they have. Bruce Pearl said it post game too. Like you're talking about, he was like, man, that would have been. You lose this game.
Yeah.
You don't even have 24 hours. Now they've got a little bit of time to just chill. You can imagine they are obviously just going to try to relax. Obviously, like you said, Johni Broome stands up. He was sitting down in the post game, stands up, and immediately like grabs at his leg. Yeah. Bruce Pearl called over a Gatorade for him. Yeah, I mean, Iowa State at the beginning, I was really, really impressed with them. Similar to Houston, they play great defense, but unlike Houston, they like to get out and run. And that really, I mean, they were turning defense into offense. 11 points off turnovers for them in the first half. And so Auburn just kind of wasn't able to keep pace. But I mean, absolutely credit this team for the halftime adjustments they made and coming out and getting a phenomenal win for them to open the Maui Invitational 83-81 over Iowa State. Again, Auburn will play, as you're listening to this, on Wednesday night. They will play Wednesday night against either Dayton or North Carolina. Regardless who it is, it'll be 10 o'clock Central Time on ESPN. So once you get settled in with the family after traveling, you can I don't know, fall asleep watching the game, stay up watching the game. It's there's a lot of time for family during the day. So that's a positive. For Patrick Bingham, Nathan King, appreciate you guys joining us for the post-game pod, and we will talk to you, I guess, tomorrow after a late night of some more Auburn basketball. Thanks for joining.